Hey guys, Luna here, and welcome back to Virtue's Last Award. Last we left off, we got two endings, managed to cure our two friends, and now we're about to choose if we're going to ally or betray Luna. Which, like I said in last episode, I'm gonna ally with her.
It's probably a
Oh,
little
wait, no.
late to say this, but
I forgot she was my partner.
you know Alice is still in the infirmary. So,
You're saying we should pick ally, right? Since Alice is going to default to that.
yes.
I know, it's not really fair to betray someone who isn't voting. And his face broke into a warm, happy smile. Not to be sappy, but it was like a ray of sunshine on a cloudy day. I grinned it back at her before I knew what was I was doing. For a minute, the non-regame didn't seem so scary.
10 seconds remain. 9,
Yeah,
8,
yeah.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
He's ally. Like I said,
Round 2 of the Ambidex game has been completed. Results. Thank you, Ambidex.
this is much shorter, so kind of curious where this would lead to. Luna and I stepped out of the AB room. Alright, let's have a good look at the results.
Okay.
Results from round 2. Please.
They both chose betray, obviously. So she got up. So we died because Alice. Alice, you killed me.
Points have been assigned or subtracted accordingly. Please check your...
It wasn't possible. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, and looked again. No, that's not possible. How can Alice's voice be betray? It was a question I would never know the answer to. There was a sharp, quick pain in my wrist, barely even noticeable. I couldn't feel anything flowing into my veins, but I knew it was there. First would be the anesthetic Sorborel. I blinked and my vision started to blur. When I tried to think, it felt like my mind had been stuffed with cotton. My legs began to wobble and it gave out entirely as I crumpled to the floor.
Sigma! Sigma! Hang on! Oh no! Sigma! Get up!
Sigma! Sigma!
No, why?
My eyelids felt like they were made of lead, but I forced them open. Everything was glowing blurry, but I noticed that the door of the second AB room was open. No one had gone into that room. I watched them all. And yet, there she stood, apparition that couldn't possibly be real. Alice. The world was gradually going black, and my mouth refused to form words, but my head echoed with questions. How? Why? What was she doing there? Had she run at the last moment after Luna and I entered our room? But even if she had, why she choose betray? Then the darkness closed over my mind as well, and the questions were gone forever. Alive! Alive, I say! Guess we know I'm gonna betray this time around. Yeah. Don't need to see all this stuff. Blah, 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 blah. Choosing betray this time. It's been recorded. Blah, 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 blah. Luna and I stepped out of the AB room.
Why? What happened to... It's not fair to betray someone who isn't voting. I thought thought...
There was nothing I could think to say. Even if I didn't really understand why she picked betray instead, I'd almost felt unconscious, like some other part of my mind was making the decision. Perhaps I'd been possessed by some sort of evil spirit that had been moved my finger to the betray button against my will. Alright, well, we should go see the results.
We already know what they are. It's just simple math.
The look taken in her eyes was more painful than any punch I did. I'm sorry, Luna, but I needed to do it to survive. I turned away and almost ran toward the projector, anything to get away from those eyes.
Results from Rob, please.
Yeah. Chooses betray this time.
Points, please check.
Okay, so let's get updated. What? It wasn't possible. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, and looked again. No, how can allies vote betray? That's not possible. Alice? She was standing inside the second room from the left. The room that should have been empty. Why? My mind was still reeling. Where'd she come from? As I was trying to form a sentence, she began to move toward us. From around me, I heard a chorus of muted gasps. It seemed we were united in our surprise and confusion. Alice drew to a stop in front of me and glanced up at the display.
Thought you'd get an easy couple points, huh? Not so easy when you have to look your victim in the eye, is it, coward?
Me a coward? You got some balls saying that to me after you picked betray. Why are you even here?
You gave me the antivirus, didn't you? Tenmyoji told me. Thank you. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, honestly.
But you should still be under the effects of the anesthetic.
Yes, well, I still am. A bit. I have a throbbing headache, and I can barely stand. It's horrible. I'm more resistant to anesthetics than most people, a result of my training. I have a feeling Zero Senior knew that. They gave me way more than the standard dose of that gas when they kidnapped me. In any event, a few minutes ago I woke up in the infirmary. Tenmyoji explained what was going on, and I got here as fast as I could.
So you showed up right after we got into the AB room?
Yes, right in the nick of time, too. About 10 seconds before the deadline, as I recall.
You did that just so you could betray us?
Right. What? Don't I get to do that? I mean, it turned out to be the right thing to do, didn't it? You two chose betray. If I'd stayed back there, I'd have lost 2 points.
So you're saying it was self-defense?
Yes.
You're full of shit. Self-defense, my ass. You chose betray because you wanted out. You had 6 BP. If I picked ally, you would have had 9. That's what you're trying to do, right?
So what if I was?
Are you serious? You would have killed me. Look, I only have 1 BP. You're this close to murdering me. Just admit it. You're planning to kill me so you could escape.
Don't be stupid. I knew you'd choose betray. There was...
Tell the truth.
That is the truth. Why am I the only one getting the 3rd degree here? Look at those results. 2 other people just tried to kill someone.
Fi and Dia.
Yes. If Dia had chosen ally, Fi would have killed Tenmyoji. And if she'd chosen ally, Dia would have killed her.
I don't want to be rude, but it looks like Clover and Kay tried to trick one another. Not that it seems to have worked. If either one had chosen ally, the other one would have 9 BP right now.
I turned to look at the results again. Before, I've only been working on my own. I hadn't realized that the only word all across the roster, betray. Whatever trusty man should build had fallen apart. Everyone was suspicious of everyone else. Had it been bombs? He was in the quarters. Whatever the reason, if it kept up, we'll never manage to escape. We'd be trapped in a cycle of 0-point rounds for the rest of our lives. Something had to be done. Closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Alright, guys, pay attention. Probably already all figured this out, but we can't just keep going like this. If we don't stop being a little more trusting, we're never gonna get out of here. We need to work together. Might as well have been talking to a wall.
My apologies, Sigma. But I need to think on something first. I would appreciate being left alone.
Hi.
I'll be leaving too. Things are getting a little too intense here for my delicate constitution. Sorry.
Yo.
Well, in that case,
It's too far.
yeah, sorry.
Without another word, she turned and left the warehouse, and Craig quickly followed suit.
See? There's your answer. In the end, everyone's just thinking about themselves. So I would appreciate it if you could not treat me like I'm the only villain here. Come on, Clover. Let's go.
Hold on! I'm coming! Are you feeling okay? I was really worried, you know?
Watching them walk away, Clover practically jumping with delight to have Alice back. Before long, they reached the yellow door and disappeared beyond it.
Everyone's gone.
You aren't going to leave too?
No,
You sure? I chose Betray.
I know, but I still believe in you, Sigma. I think your hand must have just slipped or something.
Luna.
Right?
My chest hurt, and when I blinked, I felt something hot and wet prick the corners of my eyes. Luna, I bit my lip. Before I could think of anything to say, the metallic rumble of the doors closing echoed throughout the warehouse.
The Ambidex gates have closed. Round 3 of the Ambidex game will be the Star Round. Star keys are required to open the gates. There is no set limit on usage of the star keys. The Ambidex gates.
Yes, as long as we have the star keys. That means we can keep playing the AB game over and over, too. Sigma? Could you show me your bracelet? Do you remember what Zero Jr. said?
Oh yeah. LA Shuffle. Yeah, I remember. Let's see here. A cyan pair. What about you?
I'm a magenta pair.
Aw, I won't get to play with you. Wonder what the others are.
They could be anything, I suppose. We won't know until we have a look.
Got about 80 minutes until the next set of chromatic doors open. So what should we do now?
Everyone else has gone off on their own.
Yeah, physically and emotionally. I really don't like how this is going. It won't matter how many times you repeat the AB games if nobody trusts anybody else. We'll never be able to get out of here.
Maybe it would help if we all had a common goal. Something to unite our hearts and minds.
Yeah, but we already got something like that. I don't want to get out of here. That seems pretty clear goal to me, but everyone chose Betray, including me.
Well, what if we have an enemy?
Enemy?
Yes, a common foe. Like the person who set the bombs, for instance.
After coming back from the lab, I told her about the bomb while she gave Alice and Farfek Xavier. Yeah, that might work. We can figure out which one of us planted those bombs, then everyone else would work together again, I guess. Theoretically, of course. But how do we figure out who it is?
Do you have any clues?
Clues, huh? Right, the memory card! Pulled it out of my pocket and held it toward her.
What's this?
I told you, a memory card. It was under the bomb we found in the lab. I think whoever set the bomb
Really?
dropped it. Yeah. I don't know what's on it, though. He couldn't find any memory card either.
Oh, I guess we can't really use it then.
in the infirmary.
Oh, wait a second. You know what? I think I might have seen something.
Huh?
Yes, I remember. The infirmary. I saw it when I was searching the infirmary with Theo and Quark. There was a memory card just like that one. Yes, I think we can see what's on it. The computer there should be able to read it.
Luna and I exploded into the infirmary, nearly running into Alice, Clover, and Temioji. Quark was there as well, of course, but he was just as we left him, asleep on the bed.
What are you doing here?
I opened my mouth to retort, then thought better of it. If I really wanted people to start trusting each other, well, real change starts at home. As quickly as I could, I explained the second bomb and the memory card and how we come to the infirmary in hopes that we could discover the contents of the ladder.
Okay.
Then stick it in already!
Go ahead.
Right. Just as Luna had said, there was a small slot under the screen, exactly the right size to fit a memory card. Within moments, the screen was filled with what appeared to be random letters. What is this?
6 rows, 22 letters each.
Give me a second, let me check my decoding. Code key doesn't work for that. So wait, 6 times 22. That is 132.
It looks like the odd rows use one set of letters, and the even rows use another set.
Right, yeah, they're the same.
In other words, the first 2 rows just repeat. Yeah.
So that's 44 letters, but...
It doesn't look random to me. I think there might be a pattern. I just don't know what it is.
Was there anything else on there? No, it doesn't look like it.
So all we got is this gibberish. Hey Alice, you haven't said anything for a while. What's
Does
up?
any of this look familiar to you, Clover?
What do you mean?
Have you seen something like this before? Maybe during your training?
This is...
So you do recognize it.
All right, knock it off, you two. How about you share it with the rest of the class?
Alice sighed and stretched her neck from side to side.
I believe this is an encoded message from a terrorist organization.
What?
They call themselves the Myrmidons.
Myrmidons. For some reason I felt like I heard that name before. Because we have. With
What are the
Theo.
Myrmidons?
Put simply, they're a bunch of thugs who are trying to destroy or dismantle most of human civilization.
So this thing we're looking at, you think it's theirs?
Well, they have a number of different codes, but I do think this is one of them.
Then the bomb? It was set by one of the Myrmidons, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, I can't say for sure, of course, but it seems likely.
Damn, I got a ton of questions for you. But let me start with this one. What the heck does that thing say?
I don't know. How am I
What?
supposed to decode it?
I have the decode key.
I don't have the key. Without a key, it would take literally hundreds of years to decode.
What about you, Clover?
Well, if Alice doesn't know how, I sure don't.
See,
Not much we can do then. We can come back to the code stuff later. I got another question. Alice, Clover, who the hell are you? Why do you know about this code?
That's...
You told me your job was to eliminate enemies of the state or something like that. Just what the hell kind of job is that? I think it's time you told us what you do.
Sorry, but I can't.
Why not?
Because you might be one of them. You might be the person who set the bomb.
That's idiotic. Of course I'm
Really?
not.
And where's your proof? For all I know, you're my enemy. I can't tell you anything.
I'm not your enemy. I'm your ally. I'm your friend. I just want all of us to get out of here. Just please tell us. Please. We need to find out who did this so we can all escape. But we have too little information. We need your help. Fine. You won't tell us about yourself, then just tell us about the Myrmidons. What else do you know about them?
I'm sorry.
Before I could blink, she leapt up and ran out of the room. Hey, wait, Alice! Took off after her.
How long are you going to keep following me?
Till you tell me what you know.
Then why don't you just ask Clover? You
Clover?
already know she works with me.
Well, yeah.
Then why don't you...
I wanted to hear it from you.
Why?
Good question. Remember the crew quarters or this garden? Got paired for 2 separate rounds. It means I spent more time with you than anybody else here. Maybe that's it. Guess I'm just curious about you.
What are you talking about?
You spun around to hide it, but I caught a blush of red on your cheeks. We walked down the path to her, ended next to the pond. Complete silence. Alice sat down on the bench and gazed at the smooth surface of the pond for several long minutes before she began to speak.
You don't hate me?
No. What? Why?
I tried to kill you.
You meant in the AV game?
Yes. I was so scared. Who wouldn't be? Kidnapped and locked up, forced to play some sort of bizarre game. And then we found that bomb. I know I probably sounded calm, but as soon as we found that thing, all I wanted to do was run away from it as fast as I could. Things just went downhill from there. I remember hearing that Quark had collapsed and running to the infirmary with everyone else. When I got there, I realized I couldn't understand what anyone was saying, and everything looked... I don't know how to describe it. It was like watching a video on fast forward, only it was real. Then I started to feel like... It's hard to explain. I guess you could say I didn't feel like I was myself, and it only got worse.
That was probably Director 6.
Yes, I think so. I don't remember much after that, but when I woke up in the infirmary, suddenly all that fear was back. So all I could think about was getting out of this place as fast as I could. It never even crossed my mind that it could kill you. God help me, even if it had, I don't think I would have cared. See? I'm horrible. You hate me, don't you? Just do it!
What? What?
Kill me! Get it over with!
What the hell, Alice? I'm not going to kill you. I don't even hate you.
You're lying! I could have killed you! I would have killed you!
Down. No one's killing anyone. Single tear rolled down Alice's cheek, and another, leaving shining lines across her face. I reached out, I saw her tense just slightly. Slowly, I brushed a thumb across her cheek off, and taking her eyes with it, taking tears with
Why
it.
are you doing this? You know, you kind of remind me of my father.
That's who you're after, right? The people who killed your dad?
Yes.
They have anything to do with the Myrmidons?
Will you promise not to tell Clover that I cried? If you keep your mouth shut, I'll tell you what you want to know about myself and about the Myrmidons. Deal?
Sure. Lips are sealed.
Really?
What? Cry? Not crying. I don't remember crying.
Good. All right then.
Alice took a deep breath and began. My father's Egyptian, but my mother's French. They met while my mother was in Egypt on vacation, and they married shortly thereafter. When I was 3, we all moved to the US. My father was a scientist, and his field was cloning. He was recruited by an American lab, which was why we moved. Both my parents had used English around me from the time I was born, so I didn't have any problems adapting to the life in the United States. But at my 9th birthday, we'd been there for 6 years. That's when it happened. In the middle of the day, my mother showed up at school. Her eyes were red and puffy, but she didn't say anything to me on the drive home. When we arrived, there were several policemen there to meet us. My father had always been a very punctual man, and when I began to realize something terrible had happened. It wasn't until several years later that I finally learned the truth. My father's lad had been attacked by terrorists, and he had been kidnapped. For the rest of my childhood, my mother raised me by herself. I didn't realize it then, but it must have been incredibly difficult for her as a single mother alone in a country where many relatives were a transatlantic flight away. She did her best not to let me see it, but every so often, when she thought she was alone, the mask would fall away, and every line of her face I could see exhaustion and loneliness. As much as I missed my father, it was those moments that made me wish more than anything that he'd never been taken. Fortunately, I was an excellent student and did especially well in math. I earned a full-ride scholarship straight out of high school and spent the next several years studying. After graduation, I took the job at the Department of Defense, hoping they might have resources to help me look for my father. I was immediately assigned to the Special Office of International Security. The purpose is to investigate and sometimes deal with terrorist organizations and other serious threats to the state. I could tell my mother wasn't happy about my decision, but she chose to remain silent about it. Eventually, I learned that the terrorist organization that had taken my father was none other than the Myrmidons. Though at the time, the name didn't mean anything to me. They were suspected of human cloning. Specifically, it was thought that they had been cloning techniques to copy the most useful members and expand their ranks. The Myrmidons apparently believed that they could use cloning to create a new race of humans. Now at last, I knew the reason for my father's abduction. The commander of Myrmidons is a man named Left. I know his name and his gender, but not his appearance or age. The Myrmidons are closely associated with a cult known as the Free the Soul. We believe that the Free the Soul provides their funding, but trying to pin any kind of misdeeds on the cult's leader, a man named Brother, is like trying to nail Jell-O to a wall. Brother was supposed to be fairly advanced in years, and rumors say he's too old to even get out of bed. Unfortunately, his mind seemed as sharp as ever. At that point, I hit a wall. The Myrmidons had been behind my father's kidnapping, but that was all I could learn about them. And one day I got a tip that some of them were hiding in a building in the Nevada deserts. I headed out immediately, which is in the connection of the first game. On the way out, my car had some engine trouble and stalled out. Trying to decide what to do when an SUV appeared out of nowhere. I'll give you one guess who was behind the steering the wheel. Clover. That was the first time we met. There were 4 other people in the car with her, and when I asked them what they were doing, I got what was just the last answer I expected. They told me they'd been locked up inside the very building I'd been on my way to investigate, and that they were currently in pursuit of the people who had kidnapped them in the first place. My priorities shifted very quickly. After a short discussion, I convinced them to allow me to come along. My hope was to find the people they were chasing, who I was certain were Myrmidons. In the end, however, we were unable to track them down. In fact, I still don't know who or where they might have gone. Eventually, I took Clover and her companion to the SOIS headquarters. We decided that involving the police would only complicate things. After some questioning, it was determined that the people who investigated this particular event were not connected to the Myrmidons. We did, however, discover that the mysterious disappearance and subsequent reappearance of several children 9 years prior was connection to Free the Soul. There was also a 6th person in the SUV, although they weren't riding it per se. Middle-aged man, who I'll just call H for now, had been bound and placed in the trunk. According to the other 4, he had been behind the disappearances of the children 9 years earlier. I also learned his pharmaceutical company, major player on the world stage, was effectively controlled by Free the Soul. More specifically, I suppose H was a member of Free the Soul and committed to their cause. So why had he kidnapped all those kids? Apparently he had been... Which, if you watch my 9 Doors, 9 Hours, 9 People playlist, which is on my channel, you'll understand a lot of this. You don't imagine you ever heard of it before, so I'll give a quick rundown. Simply put, these people can access sort of field that allows their consciousness to resonate with the consciousness of certain other people. To be honest, it might be simpler to just call it telepathy. The SOIS had heard of this particular ability before and had actually used it in a number of investigations, so I wasn't surprised to learn of its existence. I was shocked, however, to learn that these experiments had been carried out by a member of the Soul. If that was the case, then Brother must have known about it. The thought of him discovering a way to control and harness that power was terrifying. It wasn't too long after the incident in Nevada that another tip about the Miramons crossed my desk. This time it claimed that the Miramons intended to launch a large-scale biological terrorist attack. My bosses decided that we needed more agents to deal with the threat of that magnitude, and Clover was recruited. Because she had been a test subject in nature's experiments, we knew she had the ability to access the morphogenic field, and we wanted to put that ability to use. Several months of training, she was sent on her first mission. She would be tasked with the infiltration and investigation of the Myrmidon cloning lab. I was assigned to be your commanding officer. I hoped that our investigation might also give me a lead on my father's whereabouts. Last, I had a chance to find out what had happened to him. I wouldn't let that chance pass me by. Perhaps it was what kept me noticing the truth. The whole operation was a trap. The lab was a fake, and Clover was captured almost immediately. I got there as fast as I could, but when I arrived, the building was only an empty shell. All of the conspirators, who had pretended to be researchers and the like, had already fled, and I searched frantically for Clover until at last, in the basement room, I found her. She had been tied to a chair, but on the floor next to her was another body. It was my father. It looked as if he'd just been dumped there, and when I got to him, his body was already cold, covered in dark, ugly bruises. It wasn't until later that I learned he had died from ruptured organs and internal bleeding. They had beaten him to death. As soon as Clover had been captured, a Myrmidon in the mask had come to visit her. He said that unless she wanted to end up like my father, she would leave them alone and tell her masters at SOIS to do likewise. In retrospect, they must have known who I was and who my father was. That was why they killed him. Perhaps they thought they were sending a message. Or that once he was gone, I'd lose my reason for chasing them. They're very, very wrong. I took Clover with me and left. I tried to console myself with the fact that I had at least been able to save her. Sometime later, I received a call from the coroner. He told me that there was something I needed to see. There in the morgue was my father, pale on a steel table. I could barely stand to look at him, but the coroner had said, his arms were 2 rows of numbers, comprised of 8s and 9s. It took me a moment to recognize my father's handwriting. He had carved them into his own skin. His chest was another message, but they were letters this time, not numbers. Not many, just enough to make a short sentence. I love you, Alice. I broke down crying right there in the morgue. They were the first tears I shed since the operation had started, and there was no stopping them. There'd be no forgiveness, not the monsters who put my father through this. They destroyed my family. I'd make them pay. I'd make them pay even if I had to die to do it. That night I made a promise to myself. I'd avenge my father. It didn't take long to figure out that the numbers he written were latitude and longitude. A chemical factory that had been a disguise as a further investigation revealed that it was the mother lode we've been looking for. The headquarters of the Myrmidons. I think my father must have known how things would turn out. Knowing that he was going to die, he written the directions to our enemy's fortress on his own body. He sacrificed too much for me. This time our operation would succeed. This time, I wouldn't let my excitement put Clover or any of our agents in danger. So we took our time, got information, we did our research, and we planned. Finally, we were ready. December 25th, 2028, was the day we finally set foot in the Myrmidon stronghold. But then, on the 22nd, only 3 days before the operation was scheduled to begin, random gas vents appeared. So you hear that gas, passed out, and woke up here in the AB?
Yes. Well, there it is. Everything that's happened with the Myrmidons and me. I left a few of the details out, of course, but you get the idea.
She gave me a sad sort of smile and stood up.
We should go back.
Not yet. Your story explained a lot, but there's still one big question.
Which is?
Hugh here is a Myrmidon. One of us planted the bombs, and based off the code we found, it's pretty clear that the person's a Myrmidon, right?
Yes.
I agree that we need to figure out who they are.
What do you propose we do?
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about. Do you have any clues?
Clues? Well, if I could decrypt that code, it might tell us something, but...
How can we do that?
I told you. We need a key. Without that, it's pointless.
What's a key?
Is a key. It allows you to sort of unlock a code. Myrmidons usually use this huge string of numbers as a key.
Wait, a long string of numbers? Could that be flashback to this ending? Which I was talking about before. Yeah, 78153610988 83809 42419 90551.
What the hell?
He was convicted of a string of numbers. I was almost as surprised as she was. The numbers had kind of just appeared in my mind, and I was saying them before I knew what I was doing. Alice looked at me incredulously, and I said back.
Wait, can you say that again?
78153 6198 83809 42419 90551.
That's 198,449,351 to the third power. That number
What?
you just told me. Prime factor decomposition on that number gets you 198,449,351
How
to
did
the
you figure
third
that
power.
out? I don't know. You're talking about reducing an integer to a series of prime numbers that you multiply together to get, right? Like, you get 30, you get 2 times 3 times 5.
Exactly. You probably learned that in junior high, right?
Right? So you're saying that, that's 198,449,351 is prime. And if you multiply it by itself 3 times, you get that full number.
Yes.
Don't tell me you just did that all in your
I
head.
did do all of that in my head. Simple mental arithmetic.
What? No way. That's
I
impossible.
told you, I'm better at math than most people.
That's not better at math.
Look at you. You just recited a huge string of numbers. That seems pretty astounding, too. Where did you find that number anyway?
I didn't know what to say. What did I tell it? That just came to me.
Can't tell me, huh? Fine. I'm pretty sure that's the key to the code, though. I know the Myrmidons use prime factors for their keys, and there aren't a lot of 25-digit numbers that turn out to be the third power of a prime number. I think there's a very good chance that number you memorized was specifically created by someone.
Could you explain that with small words?
Well, look at the prime factors of your number. 198,449,351 to the third power. I I think that's our hint for cracking the
I'm
code.
gonna just break this down, just so I don't forget. I mean, like, sure, it's going to be mentioned again, but, like, can't be too safe and sorry. 44951.
You still don't get it? Try to remember the code we saw in the infirmary. What did it say on the monitor?
I think the first row was this,
And the second row?
this. It just repeats.
Wow, you've got a pretty impressive memory. We could really use someone like you back at the...
Well, keep going. How do we decode
You
that?
use 198,449,351 to point you to the right letters.
How do we do that?
Well, the first number is 1, so take the first letter. The next number is 9, so go 9 letters over from the first one. Just keep going until you get something. Make sense?
I know what you said in my head. Prime number Alice gave me was blah. So what should we get if we get letters you explained? First letter would be C from the top left, right O, and then she get a word, and that word was... Sheet code won't be displayed when you put the answer, so it'd be wise to solve it now. Key is 198449351. Remember, the key is blank. Closing your window screen will... Oh. I was like, shoot. Give me a second. I'm gonna pull this up on my phone. Just so I have the. I thought I would have a second to actually get a better look at it. Actually, I'll just go up on my computer because that's what's easier. Let's see here, Bert. I don't need the bomb codes. I need the. The This is taking me a second. Okay, so I have it up on my screen, and I'm gonna take a second to decode this. Fortunately, you guys don't have this, but you guys can just rewind in the video and see it. But the first letter is C, then 9 letters over would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then 8, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 4 again. 2, 3, 4. So right now I got COMPL. And then I'm imagining it's going to spell complete. So 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then 3, 2, 3, T, And then 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1 is D, so completed is the code. So. I did it. Completed. That's
Completed?
Yep, that.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I did exactly what you told me to do, and the word I got is completed. Well, actually, it's completed. The code in Load Items repeat every few lines. Just repeats.
Well, I can't remember the code like you can, but if you're certain, I believe you.
I'm definitely certain.
All right then. I wonder what completed is supposed to mean, though.
What? Aside from the obvious, you mean? I'm guessing it here it means mission complete. That's what the transmitter is for.
Huh? What are you talking about? What transmitter?
I barely even heard her. Suddenly, my mind was full of memories that hadn't been there a moment before. It was like a wave hit, like a wave had washed away from the sand, revealing a bed of precious gems underneath. Oh my God! It was Dia.
Holy Father, Holy Brother, Holy Master, my sacred mission is at last complete. With these two hands, mankind is saved. I am your well-made flesh. In your name, I give thanks.
I never realized it before. I remember seeing numbers, but not this. At least I remembered it now. Dia was a member of Myrmidons. And not just any member, he was their leader. It meant he had to be the one who had planted bombs.
Hey, are you listening to me? Then
Yeah.
answer my question. What the hell was that? What's this about a transmitter?
I didn't trust myself to try and explain it to her. More likely she'd just think I was insane. Even if I could barely make sense of the sudden influx of new information.
Wait. Don't tell me you're one of the Myrmidons.
I was. You really think I would reveal myself like
Point.
this? Out of nowhere, Clover appeared.
Oh, there you are. I've been looking all over for you. We're all down in the Floor B warehouse. Well, all of us but Luna and Quark.
Why?
You still got 45 minutes until the white door's open.
I know that.
Oh, okay. Hey. Wait a minute. I thought you and Kay and Quark didn't know about the white doors.
Tenmyoji told us about them. He said he'd show us where they were, so we all followed him down to the Floor B warehouse.
I'm assuming you left Quark with Luna?
Checking the flow. So... obviously this was... what were the long string of numbers? Getting interesting.
Yeah, anyway, when we showed up, Phi and Kay were already there. Well, all of a sudden, Phi, Tenmyoji, and Dio all started yelling at each other.
Why?
What?
Did something happen?
According to Clover, the last AB game had been the cause of their fight. Even though Tenmyoji only had one BP, Phi had chosen Betray. They started the fight, and since Dio had pressed Betrayed on behalf of his team, eventually got dragged into two.
That seems odd. Phi only had one BP too. Her choice seems like a perfectly valid defensive move.
Ugh, just come with me. Kay's trying to calm them down, but there's only one of him.
Okay, come on now, let's
Coming.
go. All four of them were still there when we arrived. They seemed to have calmed down a bit, but the tension in the air was almost visible. I felt like I stepped into a room full of flammable gas. Even the smallest spark could turn the whole place into a raging inferno. Even Kay, usually so calm and collected, was standing ramrod straight with his hand balled into a fist at his side. I looked at Alice, pursed my lips, and then headed over to the angry knot of people occupying. Leave this here. Oh, I hope you guys have a good day, night, week, month of your lives, and may the stars forever guide your path, forever might lead you into the future. Goodbye, everybody.